On the 24th of December 2022, Jennifer Antony, who was a 300 level student of Special Education and Rehabilitation Sciences at the University of Jos, put on black trousers and a maroon t-shirt, making sure she looked presentable for what she thought would be an important day. Jennifer told her friend Jessica that she was going out to submit her CV for a job opportunity. Just like any hopeful student, she was excited about the possibility of finding work. Jessica watched her friend leave home that day, not knowing that it would be the very last time she would ever be seen alive. When hours passed and Jennifer didn't return home, Jessica began to worry. She tried calling her friend's phone, and to her relief, Jennifer picked up. But what happened next would set her up for a prolonged period of anxiousness. Jennifer said absolutely nothing. The line was silent, which was completely unlike her friend, who was always chatty and active on social media. Jessica called again, desperate to hear from her friend, but this time, the phone was completely switched off. At that point, it became clear to her that something was definitely wrong. Jennifer never switched off her phone. According to her friend, she was a social media person, and as such, she was always posting on her social media pages. So, for her to go off-grid for days without any form of contact was definitely a valid call for concern. Days passed without any word from Jennifer. By December 31st, 2022, which was New Year's Eve, Jessica could no longer ignore her fears. She officially declared Jennifer missing and then created a social media post pleading with the public for help. She shared Jennifer's photo and asked anyone with information on her whereabouts to contact her. The posts were widely circulated across social media platforms, thereby making her disappearance a widely known issue across the country. On January 1st, 2023, Jessica received the very phone call she had been dreading. Someone asked her to come to a guest house along Zaria Road in Jos, Plateau State, Nigeria, to confirm if a body that had been discovered was Jennifer. Jessica immediately made her way to the guest house, and when she arrived, she saw Jennifer's clothes and belongings scattered on the ground. The sight was devastating, but it was nothing compared to what the hotel management had discovered earlier that day. Around 12 p.m. on January 1st, the hotel manager had made a gruesome discovery inside one of the rooms. Jennifer's body was found in a pool of blood, but the scene was far more horrific than a typical murder. Her body had been mutilated and in a manner that suggested something far more disturbing than a robbery gone wrong. It was observed that one of her eyes had been completely removed and some of her body parts were missing. The condition of Jennifer's body pointed to what many believed was a ritual killing. The precise nature of the mutilation and the missing eye were telltale signs that this was no ordinary crime of passion or theft. The hotel manager immediately reported the matter to the police at 3:30 p.m. that same day. The police quickly sent a surveillance team to the guest house, who then evacuated Jennifer's body to Plateau Specialist Hospital, where doctors officially confirmed her death. Her remains were then deposited at the hospital mortuary while the investigation began. The police also arrested 2 hotel receptionists as part of their initial investigation, leaving no stone unturned in their quest to find Jennifer's killer. As the police began their investigation into the circumstances surrounding Jennifer's brutal murder, they started looking into her personal relationships. What they discovered would lead them down a path that appeared straightforward at first, but would later reveal a story far more complicated than anyone could have imagined. The investigation revealed that Jennifer had been in a relationship with a fellow University of Jos student named Moses Oko. Moses was a 20-year-old 300-level zoology student, and the police quickly identified him as their prime suspect in Jennifer's murder. The police declared Moses wanted and then launched an aggressive manhunt to track him down. His photos and videos were widely circulated on social media as the authorities appealed to the public for help in locating him. But while the police were searching high and low for Moses Oko, treating him as a dangerous criminal on the run, the truth about his whereabouts would soon reveal a twist that no one saw coming. At the exact time, the police were declaring Moses Oko wanted for murder and circulating his photos as a dangerous fugitive. Moses was not hiding in some remote location or fleeing across state borders. Instead, he was lying in a hospital bed, chained and sedated in a psychiatric facility in Benue State. The story of how Moses ended up in the psychiatric hospital was as disturbing as the crime itself. According to a source, Moses came from a family of 5 children, 3 females and 2 males, and he was the youngest of them all. His father, Dr. Oko, was an architect who lectured at the same University of Jos. everything had started to go wrong when Dr. Oko discovered that his last son, Moses, had begun smoking cannabis. The father was shocked by this discovery and then scolded Moses in the strongest terms, warning him about wrong associations. From that moment, Dr. Oko began watching his son closely, hoping to end the bad influence that seemed to be corrupting him. However, the changes in Moses were already becoming apparent. The young man, who had never argued with his siblings, suddenly became aggressive and silent, exhibiting two contrasting behaviors that surprised and also worried his parents. One day, Moses took his father's car and disappeared. When he finally showed up, he was in a terrible state. A friend had found him far from home and then drove him back to his parents. Moses appeared to have been beaten up badly by unknown people, leaving him with bruises all over his body. His speech had become uncoordinated and his behavior had turned completely strange. His confused parents didn't know what to do. Someone suggested taking him to a hospital, while another person mentioned seeing a psychiatrist. However, the mention of a psychiatrist reportedly made Moses furious. He refused to go anywhere and then told his parents that they were all demons. Eventually, the family decided that Moses needed to be taken to a psychiatric hospital in Benue State, but getting him there proved to be another nightmare. During the journey from Jos to Makurdi, Moses opened the car door and tried to jump out while the vehicle was moving. His father had to drag him back inside after the driver quickly stopped the car. As soon as the car stopped, Moses jumped out again, claiming that the vehicle was full of demonic beings. It took a lot of effort and persuasion to get Moses back into the car. When they finally arrived in Makurdi, the drama continued. Dr. Oko had to pay some young men to physically bundle Moses into the vehicle to get him to the psychiatric facility. Moses was immediately admitted to a private clinic for drug addiction management and mental health treatment. His hands and legs were placed in chains and he was heavily sedated to control his violent behavior. Later, he was transferred to the Benue State University Teaching Hospital, where doctors reportedly diagnosed him with acute psychotic disorder. It was on the same day Moses was being treated at the psychiatric hospital that his sister saw something on social media that would turn their world upside down. She saw a post declaring that her brother Moses had been declared wanted by the police for the murder of his girlfriend. Dr. Oko reportedly received the devastating news through a phone call from his daughter in Jos. As devastating as the news was, the father consulted his friends and then made his way to the police headquarters in Makurdi, where he introduced himself to the head of criminal investigation department. The officers advised him that since the police were looking for his son in Jos, he should go there to meet with the investigators. Dr. Oko called his wife, who was in Lagos State at the time, asking her to come to Makurdi while he traveled to Jos to help with the investigation. When Dr. Oko arrived at the police station in Jos, he met with the top police officers and then told them his story about Moses' mental condition. He was taken to see the State Commissioner of Police, who reportedly received him with appreciation for coming forward with the information. In the presence of 3 other top police officers, Dr. Oko explained his son's situation to the Commissioner of Police. He denied having any knowledge of his son's girlfriend, emphasizing that his only mission was to help the police with their investigation. Dr. Oko was then taken to another office where he was asked to write down his statement. From 8 a.m. when he arrived at the police station, he waited after writing his statement until 4 p.m. before being told that he needed someone to bail him out. To his greatest surprise, Dr. Oko discovered that while he was at the police station, officers had allegedly gone to his house, towed away his wife's car, and also chained his gate so that nobody could go in or out. After finding a staff member from the University of Jos to act as his guarantor, he was granted bail and allowed to go home. The following day, the police demanded that Dr. Oko take them to Benue State to interrogate Moses, but instead of conducting an interrogation, the police reportedly took Moses away from the hospital against the advice of the doctors who were treating him. When they arrived back in Jos, both father and son were detained, though Dr. Oko was not locked up in a cell. The following day, the police held a press conference and then paraded Moses in handcuffs. On February 22, 2022, Moses Oko was arraigned in court on a 2-count charge of mischief and culpable homicide. The trial began on March 3, 2022, but what happened in the courtroom would be almost as dramatic as everything that had happened before. When Moses was brought to Jos High Court at about 9:20 a.m., he was accompanied by correctional service officials and some family members. But when his case was called at 10:15 a.m., Moses refused to speak. When the court clerk tried to administer the oath to him, Moses remained completely silent. His lawyer told the court that his client was mentally unstable, explaining that Moses had been showing unstable mental conditions recently, possibly due to the weight of the charges against him. The defense lawyer argued that, considering Moses' age, it was difficult for him to bear such heavy charges and that this was probably responsible for his strange behavior. However, the prosecuting counsel was having none of it. She argued that the defendant and his counsel were simply acting out a script, pointing out that everyone had seen Moses talking to his parents and his lawyer just minutes before. She reminded the court that they had all heard him talking and that the judge had even called him to order just 5 minutes earlier. The prosecutor questioned how someone who had been talking 5 minutes earlier could suddenly become mute, noting that medical examinations carried out on Moses in the hospital showed he was in perfect mental condition. The defense counsel insisted that Moses' mental condition contradicted the medical report, claiming that his client was seeing different kinds of spirits from time to time, which made his mental state fluctuate. The judge ruled that, according to the case file, Moses was in a stable mental condition, stating that there was no report of abnormality and that Moses' statement confirmed he was in his right senses. The judge ordered that the trial would proceed. When the charges of mischief and culpable homicide were read to Moses, the court asked if he was guilty or not, but Moses remained completely silent. The charges were repeated, but he still said nothing. Later, when the defense counsel tried to discontinue the trial, claiming that Moses was not mentally stable enough to continue, the judge once again resisted the attempt. The judge noted that the medical report before the court showed Moses was in a stable condition for the trial to continue. He proceeded to order the prosecution to call their remaining witnesses. Unfortunately, after those dramatic court proceedings, there has been no update on the case of Moses Oko and the brutal murder of Jennifer Antony. We could not ascertain if Moses' admission to the psychiatric hospital took place before December 24th, which was the very day Jennifer went missing, or if it occurred after. It was also not revealed whether the hotel staff had identified Moses as the guest who booked the affected room, or if it was someone else. It is also worth noting that Moses had cut his dreads, an act which many people presumed was meant to disguise his appearance and make him difficult to identify. To date, nobody really knows if Moses was just putting up an act or if he was truly mentally unstable. No other suspects had been arrested or convicted for the horrific murder of Jennifer Antony.
I started getting calls that the fellow they are seeing on social media, is he my son? I said, I've not seen it. Then eventually, when I saw it, I said, this is my son. I got sign that he was taking weed. And each time I had the sign, not that I will see it, but I will smell it. I will go into a heated argument. He will say, it's better than cigarette, it's better than beer, and all. We will argue. That one had been going on. That one I can. Even he himself can never deny.
What do you think about this case? Do you believe Moses might be innocent or not? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more true crime stories.